Walk and Talk, episode 10. This one is just about distribution of wealth. I believe no one should be rich. Being rich should be a crime, especially if there are millions of people that are struggling to survive while you're sitting on a throne of gold. Generational wealth should be illegal. There should be no royalty or people that are born into wealthy families. Each person should figure out how they can benefit humanity, not how they can be lucky enough to be born into a rich family. I believe we could create a world where all humanity is capable of living a life that they would enjoy. And if the only thing that would bring you joy is for you to live in the lap of luxury while millions of other people are struggling to survive, then you need an attitude adjustment. I just saw a video yesterday where apparently in the American Congress someone proposed a rule that no one in Congress should be able to trade stocks on the stock market. That's amazing. That should most definitely be a rule. Even as things stand right now, if you want to be rich and trade stocks on the stock market, then just don't become a congressman. People in Congress are supposed to be making decisions to help the people they represent, not getting insider information on what stocks are going to prosper and which ones won't. It should be illegal for congressmen to trade stocks. This is more restrictions that we should put on Congress, as I mentioned in episode 9. I was just shocked to believe that they're actually talking about it in Congress right now. The two primary ways that I'm aware of that people become rich is either through the stock market or through owning businesses. I guess the third option I would have to throw in there would be entertainment, like musicians or professional athletes. And look at what that says about what we value. We value people that can turn a little bit of money into a lot of money just by selling and trading. And we just pay a lot of money just to be entertained. We should be valuing things like education and people who make decisions that help humanity, that moves humanity toward a better place in the future. But we only value money. That's because we live in a capitalist society. Capitalism means money is the most important thing in life. Capital means money, so it's essentially moneyism. And who is proud of living in a system where money is the central focus? Not me. I think there's way more valuable things in life than money. We simply have to point out that capitalism is all about money and that money should not be the central focus of our lives. We should want to make the world a better place. And people who live in houses like this should feel ashamed and guilty that there are people that struggle to survive. I don't believe we could create a society where absolutely everybody has exactly the same thing. But if someone has more than another, it should reflect that they have contributed more to benefit humanity than someone else. So if you see someone driving a nice car or living in a nice house, you should be able to ask them, wow, what did you do to contribute to humanity to get these benefits? And instead of just saying stuff like, well, I trade on the stock market, or I own a business, or I wrote a song, they could actually say, I've built a bunch of homeless shelters, I feed the hungry, do things that are beneficial for humanity. And if they obtained their benefits by doing good things for humanity, then they shouldn't be ashamed. But most rich people gain their wealth by trampling on the lives of others. I wanted to bring up Firehouse Subs. I don't know that much about their business model, but I know that they contribute to help firemen. So whenever you buy a sandwich from Firehouse Subs, some of those proceeds are going to help firemen. This is a great and honorable business model. All businesses should be tied to some sort of charity or some sort of organization that they benefit. And then when you go out to eat or whatever, you are actually supporting the organization that they are designed to support. I believe this is drastically different than what most people consider to be socialism, because most people think it's the government collecting money and then the government distributing that money however they see fit. I do not trust the government. We need a small government, but we could tie businesses to charities or organizations where any profits that they make would go to help support that organization. Imagine if going to McDonald's would actually feed the hungry, or if every time you went to Walmart, you were building homeless shelters for the needy. We would just need a government agency to audit these businesses to make sure that they are accurately handling their money and donations. And anyone working for the government would be under scrutiny to make sure that they were not corrupt in any way. Anyone who is currently rich and wealthy living in a huge mansion should be given an opportunity to take their resources and create systems that benefit humanity. Homeless shelters, food shelters, whatever. They would need to sell their mansions and downsize to a house that suits their needs for their family. Not their wishes or desires or their needs for luxury. If it's just a husband and a wife, they can have a 2-bedroom house or an apartment. We need generational wealth for all humanity, not just the elite. Capitalism only creates wealth for the elite, the upper class. And they are the only people that I expect to have a problem with my new world order. We should take power out of the hands of government and the elite class and put power in the hands of the people. We should aggressively pursue all corruption and greed, which reminds me of another TikTok video I saw. This is the impression I got from this TikTok video. In Mexico, the cartel is so powerful that they can walk down the street, and if there is anybody who is not paying them for protection services, they'll just walk in and unalive you and any of the customers in the store, and the government will do nothing about it. That happens because of money. That happens because the government and the cartel operates on the assumption that the only thing that matters is getting and obtaining money at all costs. Just think, humans are the only species on Earth that require money to live, and we're the ones that created the idea to even need money to survive. Other animals don't need money to survive, and we created a system that creates more problems than any other animal has to deal with on Earth. Money is the cause of almost all human evil. The desire for money is what motivates people to do whatever it takes to become rich so that they can buy private islands and traffic humans. I believe we could continue into a brighter future even with money, but we have to regulate wealth. We have to prevent people from obtaining excessive amounts of wealth. We would have to criminalize being wealthy. And it seems relatively simple on how we could do that. So if someone owns a McDonald's, we just say your maximum salary as the owner of McDonald's will be whatever, $200,000. So when you do your budget or you calculate your proceeds for the month and you pay all your obligations for the business and your salaries, including yourself, anything left over goes to the designated fund or organization that you are helping to support. And there would be an agency that audits your books to make sure you're following the law. And if you're not, then your freedoms get ripped from you because you are a criminal. This model provides for the needs of humanity. It cuts out greed and corruption, and it minimizes the size of government. And while I'm thinking about it, we should have a standardized salary for all job functions. So plumbers with a certain amount of experience would get paid the same all over, and new plumbers would get paid the same from all over. So new plumbers would get less than experienced plumbers. This eliminates inequity. You know, some people don't want to negotiate salary when they're getting hired. They feel uncomfortable negotiating salary. So you can pay two people completely different salaries simply because one is not a good negotiator. I know I was kind of all over the board in this, but I want to hear your thoughts about my ideas. So in summary, I think I said we would criminalize corruption and greed, minimize the government, minimize taxes, and create systems that will contribute to the needs of humanity and to make compassion for humanity the central focus for life. rather than the need for money and more of it.